Obviously, the identity and devices are mechanisms to get in, as well as applications. To be fair, at this point now, we're talking about this is the reason they're here. This is the reason that the perimeters have been broken down, and access to data is the underlying reason that you have come under a sort of threat as well. So protecting the data is the primary responsibility of the people that are going to be in this event today. We have the three core elements of that data protection strategy. Being able to know about your data. You want to know what sensitive levels, what sensitive data you have, and more importantly, what you can do about protecting it, which is the next one. You're safe. You are guardians of data. You need to safeguard that data, so being able to protect it, and more importantly, to prevent any potential data loss, and being able to monitor and remediate. Things happen, but you don't know about it. That's probably worse than anything. You want to be able to monitor what normal looks like, and then be able to remediate when and potentially if things have gone bad, and there have been potential leakages or vulnerabilities to your data set. So looking at data, there's four key parts of that. Like I said, knowing your data, protecting your data, preventing that data loss, and ultimately looking at the underlying governance of your data, especially when we start looking at GDPR commitments. If you work in a regulated market or industry, then there's other commitments that you have to certain data sets that you are custodians of as well. So making sure that we know our data more. There's as you'd imagine, there's tools, but ultimately we need to be able to identify the sensitive information types, whether that's passport information, bank information, customer financial information, or IP information that you've kind of got as an organization that you want to protect. Then we need to be able to identify what types of information we have at our disposal, whether that's on file servers or databases or email servers, you name it. Data is scattered everywhere at this point, but we need to be able to have that overarching tooling and function that will be able to give us confidence that we know when we're dealing with I don't know, date of birth records, that I know what a date of birth looks like, and I know how I'm looking at it, and I know where that sits. So I'm getting to know my data more and more, and that goes hand in hand with things like trainable classifiers as well, which will allow us to identify patterns of information. So if we know a date of birth is written day, month, year, okay, well, let's look for patterns of this data. If I know a UK passport number is 8 digits long, well, let's look for these digits, and let's make sure that we are able to classify data and have trainable models, and let them do the hard work, and let them trawl the vast amounts of data I've got to try and hopefully identify and classify my data sets as well, which is the next bit, making sure that we move into that classification of data. We understand and we can label data, so then we can then start placing retentions and behavioural handling on certain data sets. So if I know that I've got a customer that I'm marketing to, and they no longer want to be marketed, then I need to remove their information for GDPR compliance. Then let's make sure I have a process that will identify that within my CRM tooling, or whatever that looks like. This is one example, but there's different policies that we'll have in place that are based on the data classification that we identify. That's easier if I just press the arrow buttons on my keyboard, try to click the screen. So preventing data loss. Obviously, with these sensitivity labels, we're able to start doing more with them, and we can start leveraging things like AIP, which is Azure Information Protection, which will give me additional features and functionality for labeling and protecting file types within File Explorer and PowerShell. So you can see there from the graphic, I've marked this document. I'm creating a Word as general or confidential. There'll be different handling caveats to that based on policies that I have running within my environment. I've also talked about cloud app security and being able to discover labels and being able to protect sensitive information that resides within data stores that within the cloud as well. And we've got some other techniques that we can leverage as well, things like OME, which is encryption of Office 365 mail, and double key encryption, which under certain circumstances only your organization can decrypt protected content, and you have to hold the encryption keys within the geographical boundary. So that could be for compliance, so EU compliance or UK compliance or US federal compliance, things like that. There are certain things that we have to align to, and also things like information rights management on SharePoint as well. SharePoint is a repository of information, so there are tooling that we can leverage to make sure that we are preventing any data loss within that environment as well. So protecting against data loss, like we've talked about, things like DLP policies or endpoint data prevention technologies as well. Also compliance extensions within Chrome and Chromium browsers and things like that. There's also lots of team sensitive information services as well, which is in preview at the moment. But it's extending that into another channel which we're able to control and govern, especially if we're talking about sharing with external organisations or federation between different teams environments. Then we want to make sure that we are on top of data loss prevention and things like that. So governance, which is probably the most important part of the data bit, is that ongoing commitment to governance. We want to be able to make sure that we have policies in place, defensible disposal connectors. We want to make sure that we are aligning a policy that is enforced and doesn't let humans get in the way to make bad decisions or forget about things or not follow a process properly. Automation of governance is something that could be quite key. Make sure we've got retention policies. We're importing data from legacy systems. We're archiving any third-party data, things like retaining inactive mailboxes for compliance. If an employee's left but I still need to access certain data, then we want to be able to retain things. And make sure we have a robust record management process that goes alongside that life cycle of data as well. So it could be a disposal of records process. After 7 years within a finance organisation, I need to destroy these data. Then let's make sure we have that record management process in there that would automatically work through and incorporate retention schedules and things like that.